All right, little John Baldry. Yes, don't lay no boogie woogie on the king of rock and roll. Uh-uh. Hey, it's Friday, everybody. How y'all doing? So good to see you. Um, Favor be amongst us all at all times. And BOSTO, be of service to yourself and then be of service to others. Kind of keeps it in balance, isn't it? There we go. Got everything going here. And we're off. Yeah. Love that song. Brings back some really good memories. But anyway, so how is everybody? Crystal, Shaman, good to see you. Yes, jamming indeed. Gotta have the vibe, to survive. That's what I say. Hey, Dragon Soul Fox, what's up? Robert V, good to see you, my friend. Happy Friday to you. Pamela, good to see you. And Sarah Smith, Lost in Space, hello. And Al, how are you doing, my brother? New Mexico, heading to Nashville. Well, how you doing, Perry? I know you're right there in the cockpit there with you. Big Al, we just surround you with favor and know that we're sending out positive love vibes, getting the groovy thing going on. I still got that song in the back of my head going. Boom, 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 boom. That's love that song. Yeah, I left the link into it, so go check it out. So what else is going on? Danielle, good to see you. Jill and Loretta, sweet Loretta. Yep, Emperor Rex, good to see you, my man. Peter, good to see you as well. Knowledge Seeker. Hello, David Barry. How are you doing, my friend? Always keep you in my thoughts. Most of the people in here, I have a list. Yeah, you're on the list. I was like, oh crap, now he's on the list. I got a lot of emails last night from the Steiger perspective. Lively show. If you haven't checked them out, go over there and check them out. They're a lot of fun. Hey, Jenny, good to see you. Hey, Steve, what's up? Zerleth, how are you doing, my friend? We'll get things getting back on track here next week. Loretta, let's see, Emperor. All right, just making sure I'm getting everybody. Deborah Sloan. Forgot you, Loretta. All right. So, good to hear that, my friend. Good to hear that. Deep thoughts here and now. How you doing? Peace. Yeah, let the grooviness go. I think we got a really good show. We're really into this week, was Planet Earth Day. It's interesting. Worked for a company back in the day, Allied Film and Video, and we were the largest domestic video duplicator. And GM was one of our clients, and they wanted to, back in that day, marketing was done through VHS. Video opened up a huge medium before the internet was even coming about. Anyway, I was part of the team that we developed the first fully recyclable paper that passed all the requirements for a sleeve in a VHS. There you go. Bump, 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 bump. Hey, Susie Q, what's up? Good to see ya. Hey, Nina the Mist Geek, how you doing? I was thinking you were going to be asleep, huh? Didn't know if this was your full wake up time or not. Let's see. Nina is sharing these episodes. All right, so you're going to have fun with this. All right. Hey, Klaus, what's up? It's Planet Masked Earth. Isn't that the truth? I'll make a prediction. Within 23 days, you're going to see a complete reversal on the mask. Just a prediction. Bum, 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 bum. All right. I got a lot of good stuff. So, Planet Earth, giant plant. If you can expand beyond our ignorance as a species, isn't it odd that we think we know what the planet was doing 4 billion years ago, but we don't know what we were doing 10,000 years ago? Yeah. Okay. Makes perfect sense. Let's see. Jenny, now that is a brilliant idea. I really think it is. Now, maybe those Sumerians really knew what they were doing. Of course they did. So let's talk about our planet. Y'all are really going to enjoy this. I did a, this has been several years ago, that I contended that Earth has been isolated and that we are literally in this experiment. And in the early days of Secchi, which we can't get pictures anymore from A's, it showed some weird anomalies that some can say, well, it was maybe the camera. Well, questionable. A lot of people don't realize that we actually are oscillating through the Milky Way. We don't there's this controversy that there's a thought that says, no, we are stationary. Now, if we're stationary as a solar system, that brings up a whole lot of issues, because they tell us that the Earth is moving 167,000 miles per hour. We're spinning at nearly, I think, what is it? 17,500 miles an hour. Weird, isn't it? Can't feel it. Supposedly, this is how our solar system is. Questionable how long it has been this way. What happened to the poor group that was in the asteroid belt? Seems like seems like the ship didn't stop, Scotty. And this is what we see as our idea of direction. Space is 4 dimensions, X, Y, Z axis, and then time. But if you look at this is, they say, how it is. We can measure this visually. Back in the day, when our ancient ancestors were here, the firmament was different. They could see things that we can't see today because of all the light pollution. And here's the deal. It's really a helioscope, how we're moving through the universe. Now, this really throws it into an odd, because every object here, starting with the sun, going with the planets, all have a different rotational speed. So we're literally kind of corkscrewing through the galaxy. Weird, isn't it? They say this is where we are in the Milky Way. However, we don't have any actual pictures of the center of the Milky Way. We have this dust cloud that obscures our vision. They say that they have pictures of the core. I don't know. I'm still getting my head wrapped around, how do we know where X marks the spot is? But this is what they say. And, who am I to argue? This is Earth. And I'm going to show you some pictures of this. Now, remember, all we're seeing here, and this is an actual picture, is a globe, a sphere that moves. And when you think about where we are as a planet, it's so interesting how we are literally in this perfect Goldilocks zone called the habitable zone. We just happen to be fortunate enough just to be right here. Okay. And then it gets even stranger, because when you're in the Goldilocks zone, you have to have the right tilt. You get the tilt a little bit wrong, and things begin to get really weird. This is what would be the ideal solar system. We have within the Goldilocks zone the span, the space to put in 52 Earths. These are actually from stereo A. This is the known universe. This is what they tell us is reality. This is the X-ray spectrum. Again, this is more of a spheroid. How did that happen? And of course, if you're like me, I'm looking at these other places, like for instance, down at the 7 o'clock position. And I'm going, that looks like a lot of density, doesn't it? And you're telling me that what? It just fell out of the universe? I ain't buying this. I wrote, it's becoming more and more clear Earth is alone in the cosmos, and the only other hope for another life was Mars, and that is proving to be lifeless because of a war, apparently a nuclear war, which brings up the question, how rare are planets like ours? And the answer would seem to indicate very rare. So what are the implications for such as us humans and other living life forms living on this planet? The only conclusion is that Earth is in grave danger and has been for a very long time. And it may be too late to do anything about it. And if this is not the case, then it very well could become the case for all life on Earth. Think about what we're talking about here. If it is life itself, and all that comes with it, including consciousness, we talk about this, and we're going to continue because no one's got the answer. Where does your consciousness originate? Where does it dwell? If you have cells, which we know we all do, and we all shed cells each day, heck, we're shedding them all the time. Are we then not dying all the time? But yet we have new cells that come in. Are they brought into consciousness, or do they adapt to what we call this thing called consciousness? I don't know. And it says, by all indications, it seems this planet is either quarantined or deliberately isolated in a region of the universe where no other life exists or that has been thus discovered by man. What are the odds of this happening? If our planet exists, and we know it does, then that would imply the process can and should be duplicated in other star systems, and that parallels would exist as well on such levels of development of life forms and intelligence, thus leading to interplanetary communication, eventually by any number of other life forms that should be detected and seen. We're just talking simple intelligence. Why is it? Oh, well, maybe if we consider the fact that we don't even understand each other, much less potentially other life forms. And despite all of our efforts, with the use of machines as our eyes, because we can't see, we send telescopes out there, detect or provide any evidence of other worlds like Earth. And this takes into consideration that of the billions of galaxies that we can detect, so they say, and those in our local cluster, which translates to billions of planets orbiting stars, and each star having the possibility of a habitable zone or the Goldilocks ring, where planets could be orbiting in these zones and having intelligent life forms existing, bringing the number of planets like Earth into the millions, if not billions. I mean, we're listening all the time. No one has picked up anything except the wow signal that came in about 3 decades ago. So, yet we have not to this day found any evidence, folks, absolutely none, that have shown any indication of intelligent life of any kind. So what does this mean and what does this say? What is it saying to us human beings living on this planet? It can only be concluded that we are or have been in mortal danger, and here's the reasons why. It appears that we are, in fact, a rarity. We also seem to be very unique. Talking about the planet, not us, the planet. We also, by all indications, as Carl Sagan and even the late Stephen Hawking, we're isolated, which means, as Hawkins said in one of his last papers, we shouldn't be sending out all these signals. Because if it's as rare as it seems to be, then we are indeed prime for invasion. The uniqueness of the fact that this planet is alive and has life forms is a rarity within itself. We can't find anything, not even on the microbial level. There's also energetic life, Earth itself, and then there's this thing called consciousness. Why is it that man cannot remember his beginnings? Why cannot man remember the recent history of 10,000 years or longer? Why is man the only species with sentient consciousness and no other visible life form does? What if another life form did find Earth and all the living organisms, including humans, and recently within the last 10,000 years, and has infected every living cell on Earth? And it is the entire whole of the planet that makes up this single organism. And that, in essence, feeds off the planet. That's a plant. We're so restrictive in what we see as life. So that's just within itself. I mean, that's a conversation that we all can be having for the longest time, because it does seem that we would be primed for invasion. And if, in fact, an invasion has already taken place, how would we know or not know? How, when we look at history, that record is ambiguous at best. Whose history are we buying into? That's the question. So, I back when there was more access to the cameras, more strangeness going on with stereo A and B, Sechi, I collected and archived terabytes of video. So I want to show all of us, give me 1 second here as I go out to pull this in. So I want to show you something. Okay. So let's take a look at what we know to be Earth. And this is from the International Space Station, been over a decade. And if you pay attention to this perspective, the concave of the Earth itself is interesting, because if you take a look in what we're doing, we're looking in one specific direction, and I'm going to actually speed this up So give me 1 second. So as I speed this up, you can see that it looks like a dome, does it not? Now, these are time lapses on this as I'm advancing it, and I'll just stop it there. I mean, you could see where the firmament is. You can see where the idea of a dome. And it's interesting that from persons from the ground looking up, how they would come up with that perspective. Here, we're not that high in the atmosphere here. We're, I think we're less than, what is it, 20,000 miles up? I think that's about where we're at. So this is just an interesting perspective. This is, they say, our Earth. And it's quite amazing if you just stop and meditate and you look at this. And so from one perspective, we're only seeing a flat plane. We don't see the whole plane itself. Got another one. So let's take a look of what a sunrise looks like at about 22,000 miles up. So let me pull myself in here. All right, so this is a sunrise. Quite beautiful when you think about it. We can't see any planets, any stars, because ours blocks them out, apparently. This is Earth. And now I'll start advancing it. And now here comes the sun. All right. Here it comes. Now it's quite interesting when you see what this does from the International Space Station. They're pointing their camera directly to the horizon. What's going on? So, and let's just continue here. Check it out, folks. It's quite spectacular. This is our star. This is what they tell us our star looks like when you're above in the upper atmosphere. We don't actually have, the International Space Station is not in space per se. It's still within our atmosphere, but it's up there. And it's quite remarkable when you see how the artifacting is taking place on the camera. You can actually see the different lenses in the camera by the lens flare, which is to be expected if this is, in fact, our sun. Well, you don't see it as a round circle. You just don't. I mean, and so let me just speed this up a little bit, do a little time travel. Now watch it as it continues to rise above. Quite spectacular, is it not? And I'll just stop it there. It's always, when you do just kind of looking at this, what the camera is, if it's looking directly at the sun, then you can imagine that it would have a number of different artifacting, and it does. I mean, you can look into here and you can actually see the corona. Yeah, so let's continue to advance this. Now pay attention to these out jettings. There's one up here, one up here, one in north, one in south. And you can see how they react as the sun continues to rise above the lens perspective. And you can see the Earth spinning. And we always get this plasma effect. Goes green, goes through the visible light spectrum. It's always been rather fascinating to me. Now, again, think about this from the perspective, if you're on the ground, taking the perspective that the Earth is a plane, not a globe, not a sphere. Because in essence, the reality is no one ever sees a 3D perspective of our planet. No matter where you are in space, and you can really see where the sun is shining directly onto the surface. And then we got some artifacting in the background that these are always here. Don't know if they, and this camera doesn't, they don't even show it anymore, I don't believe. Did you see that? So there is a purpose for all this. It's Friday. And so now let's take another perspective. And I want to cue this up. Give me a second, folks. I'm actually queuing it up. Talk amongst yourself. I have to get this up to the proper mark I want. So there have been some anomalies that have definitely been taken that, well, when you look at it, weird things. For instance, the anomalies of two suns. And so check this out. This was April 21st, 2009. I believe this was over the desert. And so clearly there was a second object there. As you can see, as it's setting, it has the same thing as the sun. Here you can actually see the background, the clouds, again, doing so, but it's not just here. Here is May 11th, Kentucky, 2009. There was something going on in our solar system that, well, I'm going to show you some videos of something that was happening. We got it even on our satellites. Here is Columbus, Ohio, May 12th, 2009. I was capturing this. There was it. And this is what got me into the whole Nibiru thing. I mean, this was here. It's not here now. Don't know what that was, but here's July in Canada, 2010. There was clearly something taking place. And of course, you have those who are the debunkers who say, well, no, these are all artifacting of both the lens, the refraction of light within the lens on the atmosphere, the way that the light hits the atmosphere. I don't know. This is 2011. Now, this is the observatory. I believe this is, I think the one I think this is right is in Hawaii. Now you have, look at that, 3 different light sources. You have 1, 2, 3 suns. So, and you know, the lens flaring idea begins to get a little rusty. This is again from Hawaii. I have some of this. There was some strange stuff going on, folks. So when you have an observatory in Hawaii, this sits on the top of Mauna Loa, I believe. There was something out there. So what the hell is this coming up behind the horizon? We saw the sun rise, right? So I want to show you this because when we get in these discussions about Earth as a dome, as a plane, we got things that we can't explain here. Now, none of this made the NBC nightly news. 60 Minutes didn't do a story on this. Why? They ain't going to do this kind of stuff, you know? But there was something that was in our solar system that went by our sun. Now, the question is, was it inbound or outbound? If it was inbound, it means that this is going to return back. We just don't know when. They won't tell us. A little bit more. So when we begin to talk about lens flares, sundogs, you know, when you begin to eliminate those sources, then you have to ask yourself, well, what happened? Now, this is Hungary. I think that was correct, 2011. Now, watch the sun. If you're having a reflection on the water, you're going to have a single light source. And if you're having others, now it's the counter to this is someone is saying that, well, no, what it's hitting is the clouds, and the clouds, because of the concaveness of the earth, is causing this, what appears to be a second reflection. Them clouds be amazing, huh? Because God knows we don't even consider the fact that there might be a second sun or another object that came through our solar system. You know, again, how many times do people look up in the sky? How many people have telescopes? I have 2 of them in my garage. And as you can see, the cloud theory, who knows? All right, got others. This is show and tell Friday. Let me get into my list here. So give me 1 second. Just go ahead and talk amongst yourselves as he's going through here. How many of you know what the Black Knight is? Have you heard stories about it? Let me just show you. This is from a group, UFO Section 51. And where am I at? That's where I am. Hi, guys. So here's the Black Knight. There she be. Do you see the light that's blinking on it? Mm-hmm. Strangeness, isn't it? We won't get close to it, that's for sure. Things begin not to work correctly, they say. as it gets closer. All right, so let me go over here. Want to show you another interesting video. Again, from the UFO section 51. Because sometimes things are just not the way that they appear to be. All right. If you've never seen this, you'll enjoy this. This is Russian troops. I'll let the video speak for itself. You see it? So either we have off-worlders, beings that are here, or we've made this ourselves, we as a species. This is Turkey, 2016, Izmir. Those are F-16s. Makes you think, right? Is that our technology? Are those human beings flying that craft? I don't know. Seems like it blew the hell out of the trees, doesn't it? Scotland. This is the island off of Scotland where no one goes. Now, there was controversy when this came out, was this CGI? However, there is some convincing elements to this that would dispute the CGI theory. Number one, this island, and you can fact check me on this one, is not that well populated. It's, I think, the furthest to the west, I think, of the Scottish borders. And when you look at the craft itself, if this is faked, they're doing a really good job. But we live in a day and an age where deception is not the exception. Don't know. Again, this is from the UFO at sections 51. Amazing footage, isn't it? And then the blending of the light of the clouds, you can just see that if there's an object of that size, that it would pull in clouds. That's what I'm trying to say, but hard to say. Again, so, is this going to the argument that, well, what do we have here? Is this real, or is this something that's odd? Now, I want to show you as well. One of the things that I've often found weird was that I could never find a shot where the cameras on the ISS ever pointed to the moon. But I did capture one video that did, in fact, capture the moon. And let me pull you in. And we're going to stop and look at this because this kind of brings up the question, well, what are we really seeing here on Earth then? This is, again, the sunset, and I will advance it and we'll speed this up. And now keep looking to the background. And now is because the sun is setting from the perspective here would be off to our left, I believe. And again, you see the rotation of the Earth. And now the sun is going. Oh, here it comes. And as it comes, it right to the left. Pretty good when you can actually sit here and go, okay. But it is interesting. Just be patient. As the sun sets, we bid the sun a fair adieu. We'll see you on the backside. Again, you can see the camera, actually the lens of the camera. And if you look real close up there, about the 2 to 3 o'clock position, you can actually see the serial number of the lens itself. And so now the sun goes down, right? And we have this beautiful blue that takes over as the sun says goodbye. Now, this is going to get really interesting because you have to take a look at this. Just look up into this area here. We're going to actually see a planet, I believe, before we actually see this thing we call the moon. And now it is dark. Now, isn't it interesting? The sun is gone, right? But we can't see any stars. There's no stars. There's no light at all. So how is it that we down here on terra firma can look up into this concave lens and see the stars amplified, their brightness? We can track them, planets, but yet we have a camera up in space, well, 22,000 miles up, that can't see a damn thing. Okay. I'll advance it now. So we're looking here out into the deep void, and there's a little planet here. You have to really watch it, and you can see it's actually going down, which would be below the horizon. And then check this out. You see it? That's our moon. This is the only pictures I can find of the moon, because you would think that the ISS would want to be pointing to the moon all the time. Why is the moon, you can see it as it's setting slowly below the visible horizon? I mean, we can see it down here. I have telescopes that, there are times when we get these super moons that you almost have to have in fact, you have to have a moon filter on there. It's so bright. But apparently the International Space Station doesn't find the moon to be all that mesmerizing. And now I think I know why, but doesn't that seem either a way distance? Well, let's see, it would be over 225,000 miles away. But we certainly can get the sun. So anyway, for what it is worth, we say goodnight to the sun. Wow, this has been a lot of fun. There is so much more I could show you that, well, it just defies understanding. I've shown you the one video, worthwhile to see it again, that with the ship next to the sun. Give me 1 second as I pull it up for us. And here we go. Okay. Again, from the great group that, as I've told you before, over, here we go. UFO at section 51. Here we go again. So, I mean, to me, if this is the kind of stuff that we can see, and I don't know if that's a drone. I don't know if that's a craft. There were actually two of them that would intelligent life. I don't know. They got technology that they fuel up off of stars. Quite remarkable. I mean, if you're going to travel through interstellar space, you're going to definitely want to have a refueling technology, and stars would be the most ideal place to refuel from. And it's amazing how this technology works. You can actually see there is a opening in the apparatus itself that's taking directly what would just be raw plasma to me. So anyway, boy, where's the hour gone? Quite fascinating. That's all I got to say. I find it very interesting. So here we go. As we continue to move on. I hope you found that interesting. To me, it's what are we dealing with here? And then we get these stories that we're covering, and let me pull those up. As there's a document I have, and it's a series of them that actually deals with, let me move this, there we go. This is from what they call the MJ12 files. It's interesting. I want to read this one right here. It says, did we find the moon occupied? Is this why the videos look like the studio fakes, confirming SSP, which is confirming aliens? The answer from the files is that the answer is the moon was occupied prior, as it is an artificial space station responsible for the prison planet, management of souls on Earth to consistently be recycled on the Earth. You look at this stuff and you just go, well, that really sucks. This is really quite a document. We're going to go over. It's long, but I'm going to break it down into some manageable points because they have some information on here that is really interesting. So I wanted to show you this because we're dealing with planet Earth. We're dealing with the aspect, we are we a three-dimensional sphere that is spinning in space? Or are we a plane that resolves around itself within the plane? But that then would say that there was something you can't, well, what's happening here? Wait a minute. You got the Earth turning, but yet you're saying that we can't see the globe. But how does a plane exist? Anyway, I didn't write the questions. Certainly didn't get the answers either. What we're going to see here is a couple of pictures. There, each one will show one clear evidence of an organized magnetic field surrounding knots in the wood. Wood trees have the most amazing ability to actually reflect not only just the Earth, not only areas of magnetism, but it seems to be the galaxy itself. We're going to see structures related to the Birkeland currents, structures related to galactic jets, structures of certain knots across several species, exhibiting artifacts of what we call the Schwarzschild black hole, to include photon spears, event horizon, lensing. Horizons occur at the point of K plus U, which would equal O, analyzing use Malinsky's model. Structures related to fluid dynamics to include the bow shock, Lemire flow, turbulence seen in what mainstream science considers solids. In fact, magnetic fields around spherical bodies in space are produced by magnetic dynamos. How would you explain the field structure seen below? Y'all ready? All right, so the first one, magnetic fields. Interesting, isn't it? All right. Number 2. Look at that. I can take you to some pictures on some models that this is exactly how the models look like on Earth. This would be our magnetosphere. This would be what we call Earth. Birkeland currents. All within trees. Look at this one. Look how the vortex has formed, and you can see how it's been imprinted upon the wood, but look how the vortex itself, the origination point, and then you get the concentric lines. These would be heliospheric lines, I believe. And then look at this one. This is exactly what our satellite picture shows us when, for instance, we're about to get hit with a minor CME that released a day or so ago. But this is what it looks like when you look at our magnetopause when we get these geomagnetic storms. Now look at this one. This one, to me, I immediately was thinking of Jupiter. But if you looked at this potentially as a binary star, you could look at this as a number of different things. Look at this one. This is outer space. This is the wood. And finally, look at that. How does Mother Nature know this stuff? Interesting, isn't it? Wow, where did this hour go? No, wait a minute. Let me cancel that. Cancel that, please. All right. It goes, okay. And I didn't even get to the document that I had primed up, but I will scan it quickly for all of us. So he goes over here. So this is the upheaval, what I was going to start out, of the dome crater. Now this is taken from Utah. Says that the upheaval dome crater is a good example of how the Earth looks like on a much larger scale. Well, if we can see something from 22,000 miles out, we have telescopes that can look backwards. It's like, okay, what are we really looking at? Again, I often ask, why is it that we can't see any stars from our cameras that are up 22,000 miles up? And what is anyway? So this is a theory that supports the whole idea that what we think is reality is that we're just in a pond, a lake of reality, and it has borders. But I haven't been able to see those borders. Of course, then again, I haven't been up in space, so I don't know. It goes that the upheaval dome is an impact structure that deeply eroded from the bottommost remnants of the impact crater in the Canyonlands National Park southwest of the city of Moab. If you've never been there, you should go. It's beautiful. in the United States. The crater is located in the Island of the Sky section of the park and is approximately 42 miles by car from Moab. So what they go here and show is that the same effect would be the cataclysm that happened that formed what we call our seven continents, is in fact that we're just floating in a much bigger picture of a lot of other continents, a lot of other domes. And apparently these habitat domes do in fact collapse. So here's the theory. It says that one theory was the upheaval is a salt dome, an anticlinal structure, which occurs when a salt dispersion is pushed up by the weight of overlying rocks. This theory is that the eroded impact crater, much like the younger meteor crater near Winslow, Arizona, and the one out in Winslow, I'm going to have to talk to Trina about this. Trina, if you're listening, let's talk about this. I don't know if you've been to Winslow, but that crater there is remarkable. I mean, to see the force of what an actual meteor can do. But anyway, and I know I'm running out of time, but anyway, we'll pick this up because got like three other documents that go with this one. But anyway, that's what happens when you try to push too much, too fast, too quickly. So there we go. We're going to still get to the guy who took the time to write out the 54. In fact, let me do this real quick because it's noteworthy. Let's see. Here we go. Because some of these I've read and I go, well, now wait a minute. But others I have read and I go, that's odd. He challenges this thing. For instance, take a lighthouse. He said the lights, which are exhibited in lighthouses, are seen by navigators at distances at which, according to the scale of the supposed curvature given by astronomers, they ought to be many hundreds of feet, in some cases down below the line of sight. For instance, the light at Cape Hatteras is seen at such a distance, 40 miles, that, according to theory, it ought to be 900 feet higher above the sea level than it absolutely is, in order for it to be visible from that distance. This is a conclusive proof, this person writes, that there is no curvature. But, the problem is here is that, well, then what are we seeing up in space? There is clearly a curvature. Now, how far, because we never get the full perspective of it. But then again, the guy makes some sense here. I don't know. He says that there would be no curvature on the surface of the sea. The level of the sea is always level. Ridiculous. Though it is to be under the necessity of proving that this is an illusion, or what he says is an illusion. He says that this is conclusive proof that the Earth is not a globe. Then there's this one. I've read a physicist who came back on this one. This one's interesting. If we stand on the sands of the seashore and watch a ship approach us, we shall find that the sea, will apparently rise to the extent of her own height, nothing more. So a person looking out. If we stand upon an eminence, the same law operates still. And it is but the law of perspective which causes objects, as they approach us, to appear to increase in size until we see them close to us, the size they are in fact. Okay? That there is no other rise than the one spoken of is plain from the fact that no matter how high we ascend above the level of the sea, the horizon rises on and still on as we rise, so that it is always on a level with the eye. Though it be 200 miles away, as seen by Mr. J. Glasher of England from Mr. Coxwell's balloon, so that a ship 5 miles away may be imagined to be coming up the imaginary downward curve of the Earth's surface. But if we merely ascend a hill, such as Federal Hill in Baltimore, we may see 25 miles away on a level with the eye. That is 20 miles level distance beyond the ship that we vainly imagine to be rounding the curve and coming up. He said this is plain proof that the Earth is not a globe. I don't know. I still say, whoever called the place Earth? Great scene when they did the redo of The Day the Earth Stood Still, and where Keanu Reeves is playing Katu, and Kathy Bates is playing the person from the Pentagon or the White House, NSA, and she says, well, what are you doing on our planet? And Keanu Reeves looks at her and says, your planet? What makes you think you own this planet? She says, well, we're the dominant species. And he says, really? So I don't know. Hey, David Barry. Well, yet it was entertaining. I'm just showing the pictures. I mean, and the pictures are cool. We all love pictures. And I don't know, figure it out. You know, that's what we're doing. We're trying to figure it out. All right, y'all have a great Saturday and Sunday. You know, to call it the weekend, I don't know if it's actually the weekend. It could be the beginning of the week. It could be the middle of the week. I guess it depends on your perspective. I'm trying to read this. 6,000 miles. Good gracious, Al. Man, if those were frequent flyer miles, brother, you'd be going up on premier class. Well, thank you, Brian. Appreciate it too. So anyway, so are we this spinning globe? Are we on this flat plane as a solar system? Do we never move? In other words, are we going through space like this? No. If we're moving at all, we're doing this, folks. And that gets real complicated when you start thinking that we're actually going through this helical movement, not this flat plane. Don't know. Brandy, fine. Send that to me on your channel. I'd love to see that. All right. No, woke dealer. No, not making fun of that at all. We don't make fun of things like this. Who knows? We have a current mindset that says this is science. But science is right now in the evolutionary process of trying to identify itself what it is. It's come out from the religious influence, but it's still, the religious influence still has it, because the problem with science today is that the science that we see today has been bought and paid for by some special interest. And they have done the funding, they get the grant money, and as a result, we have bad science. The reason why we have bad science is because we have bad money. And it's a shame that that's the way the system works. And so we're really in this emergence of what I call the second dark age. And hopefully more professors, more brilliant men and women who are not bound by the constraints of what they say is normalcy and question everything. All right. There's my, that's my perspective. All right, folks. Much love to you all. Thank you all. You're a bunch of groovy people. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. Yeah, it's true, James. It is. The money that pours into science today is all corrupt. And it's sad. It really is. There is, as recently as one, I was listening to a TED conference, and one theoretical physicist said it. She said, we're in a time of great confusion. There's nothing new in science because science gave up that sovereignty when it got taken over by the church. And today, it's not only just the church, it's the political ideologies. And political ideologies are just as contaminated as religious doctrine. And hopefully one day academia will rise above both of those and begin to look at everything around us with a new set of eyes. I wonder what it would come up with. I could really get on this because now, the fact is the science that has been derived out of these funding sources has not been given to the populace. It's not been given to humanity. It's been hoarded and it's been shielded for the select few. And that sucks. All right. Have a great weekend. Party on, Garth. That's all I got to say. All right. Much love to y'all. See you on Monday. Have yourself a great time. And who knows, we may even see each other sooner than that. All right, folks. See you later. All right. Bye.